So Game of Thrones Season 7 has come and gone, and overall most can agree that it was a season with immensely strong highs and devastatingly low lows. Consensus was that while some arcs were completely bastardized, others were done flawlessly, and I tend to agree with this notion. This was a very mixed season for me. I thought I'd share with you guys my overall opinions, breaking down not necessarily arc by arc, but just notable developments that I thought were fantastic and notable developments that I thought were absolutely horrible. There's also some in the middle, obviously. Any piece of media is going to have middle-of-the-road content in it. But before I even jump in, one issue I wanted to get out of the way right off the bat is the issue of the showrunners going past the books. A lot of fans have been fiercely attacking the showrunners, blaming a supposed dip in quality on them moving past the content that George R. R. Martin originally wrote in the books. First of all, although some arcs may have dipped in quality, I do not believe the show has jumped the shark by any sense of the word. It's still one of, if not the best show on television right now. The core issue here is that the lack of quality this season that they seem to be pointing to isn't an issue of them moving past the books. My counter-argument to these claims is that Season 6 was my overall favorite season of the entire series, and guess what? There was no book material in that entire season. You could argue that the King's Moot was derived from earlier books, but even that was such a small part of that season that it by no means can be attributed to the whole season being based on the books. Season 6, Episode 5 and Season 6, Episode 10 are tied as my favorite episodes of the entire show, all completely devoid of book source material. Now, even there, you may argue that George R. R. Martin clearly gave them the information for where he wanted to take the characters so they could write those two episodes. But still, the majority of that season was completely original, and you can't cite any dip in quality there. So what really happened with Season 7? Because although it still is absolutely fantastic, there are certain elements that you could see a clear dip in. Before I get into the elements I absolutely loved about this season, I do want to get all the stuff I despised out of the way. I don't want to appear as some Dan and Dave fanboy saying they can do absolutely no wrong, because as we'll see in a minute, they can do a lot of wrong. Starting with an issue that really festered in Season 6 but sort of exploded in Season 7, the entire Dorne story arc. It's as if the showrunners just spat in the face of George R. R. Martin's Dornish master plan arc from the books and decided, hey, we're just going to completely bastardize these characters. They essentially threw in the trash the core of what made all of the Dornish characters so interesting, and then didn't know what to do with these newfound bland sheets of paper. They wrote themselves into a corner and were just like, well, I guess we have nothing to do with these characters. Let's completely throw them in the trash. The inciting factor of this complaint was them killing Doran Martell last season, but they really continued when they wiped out the entire Martell line this season. There are literally no Martells left, and there is no ruling entity in Dorne. But honestly, I don't have as much of an investment in the Dornish book arc as most people do. It's not one of my favorites, although it is very well written and very interesting. A book and show character that I did have a major investment in that they completely bastardized was Arya's story arc. Again, this is an issue that did start last season with the bastardization of her Braavosi arc. Clearly, George R. R. Martin had a path he was intending for there that the showrunners just didn't think to take. And with Arya escaping Braavos, not having learned much, and ending up back in Westeros, they were in a position where they didn't really know what to do with her. Once again, they wrote another fantastic character into the ground. She was essentially Bizarro Arya this season. She behaved so weirdly and out of character that it was absolutely astounding to me. The way she berated and bullied Sansa throughout the season was quite honestly disgusting to me. Showrunners put so much emphasis on Arya's main character goal being protecting and avenging her family, yet they had her turn on family members in a heartbeat. Even when it was revealed to be a big build-up to Littlefinger's death, there was just still too much contrivity and too many plot holes for me to accept this as a quality arc whatsoever. Speaking of another arc that was filled with wasted potential, Sam's time at the Citadel. He arrived at what is perhaps the base of all knowledge, both political, mystical, and scientific, in the entire known world. Yet, What did he get out of his time there? He learned that Dragonstone had a huge basin of dragonglass. Okay, that was one big revelation that greatly helped Jon, but he was in a position to provide so much more knowledge, and they simply did not give him that. Instead, they had him heal Jorah from an uncurable disease that even the best of the best when it comes to maesters couldn't cure. It was just, once again, rushed and sloppy writing on the showrunner's behalf, and I was really disappointed with where Sam went this season. I just expected so much more. I know George R. R. Martin is going to do so much more, which is why it makes it all the more disappointing that Sam is already leaving the Citadel. Speaking of the Citadel and all these revelations, what is perhaps my least favorite element of this season, how they handled R+L=J. Now, if you remember back to the season 6 finale, they revealed that Jon is not a Stark bastard, but a Targaryen. They revealed that he is none other than the son of Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark, confirming the immensely popular R+L=J theory. Let me remind you again, this was a revelation that happened in the season 6 finale. You know what the big reveal of the season 7 finale was? That Jon was the son of Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark. Oh, what? Rhaegar annulled his marriage and he's legitimized? They should have left this arc up to viewers' interpretation. They should have made it so you can guess. Is he legitimized? Is he not? Is he the true heir to the Seven Kingdoms? Is he not? What's the deal? Yet the showrunners had to baby us and force feed us throughout this entire season with little hints, little jokes, and then eventually a completely contrived huge reveal at the end of the season. To me, it just came off as Dan and Dave acting super condescending towards all the viewers. Speaking of Jon and his Targaryen lineage, let's move into the stuff that I was mixed about this season. Elements that I didn't love, but I also didn't hate. First, obviously being the Jon x Daenerys ship. As you know from my episodic breakdowns, at first I was adamantly against this ship. I did not want it to sail. I thought it was very contrived. I thought they had absolutely no chemistry. But the showrunners did a decent job as the season progressed of sort of developing this chemistry. Going through emotional situations with another person clearly allows you to have a stronger bond with that person. I think that all of the beyond the wall scenes, which we will get to in a bit, definitely help that bond between Jon and Daenerys develop very strongly. However, I feel like it was a little too quick for a full-blown romantic relationship to develop. They did have great chemistry by the time the season ended, but it just wasn't enough set in place for that to really work in my eyes. Therefore, as I said earlier, I am very mixed on this whole relationship. I do see it having very strong potential as the last season comes, but for now, I'm still in this middle ground position. Now, going into the elements of this season that I really, really loved, I want to wholeheartedly express that these elements that I'm about to talk about were absolutely flawless 10 out of 10 masterpiece developments. Unprecedented writing from Dan and Dave, and some of the best the show has seen. It is this contrast of such high quality and low quality that makes the season so mixed for me. So, jumping right in, anything with any of the Lannister characters this season was absolutely flawless. All of Tyrion's scenes with Daenerys, and even his scene with Cersei in the end, are some of Tyrion's best in the entire show. And that's saying something because Peter Dinklage is one of the best actors working today. As I said in my episode breakdowns, if he does not win any Emmys for his performances this season, I'm going to be devastated. After all of his acting contributions over the course of the past 6 seasons, this definitely could be seen as the climax of his character performance. And Tyrion Lannister being one of the best fictional characters ever written, this 10 out of 10 acting and 10 out of 10 writing blended perfectly together. And like I said, Tyrion wasn't the only fantastic Lannister we saw this season. Lena Headey did an excellent job portraying Cersei, as she always does every single season. And although this time around there were some odd writing choices and odd character developments, I think her 10 out of 10 performance almost cancels out these decisions. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the actor that plays Jaime's name, but his performance this season was perfect, and this perfectly complements the writing of his character this season. Jaime is on the perfect character path to broken, flawed redemption in a way. Ever since season 3, I've always been an avid proponent of Jaime being one of the best characters in the show. A lot of people still hate him, a lot of people disagree with me, but overall to me he's one of the best fictional characters ever written. And this quality was definitely reflected in the show. especially this season. Although I do think this is the route with the character that George R. R. Martin is going to take as well, I think the showrunners getting to it first definitely sort of ups that quality for me. At least from my perspective, they're perfectly setting up Jaime for his final redemptive arc in season 7, and I'm really looking forward to it. So finally, although this part is riddled with minor flaws, the entire Beyond the Wall sequence from season 7 episode 6 was fantastic. That sequence alone made that episode my third favorite of the entire show. Like I said earlier, it helped solidify the bond between Jon and Daenerys that was slowly but surely developing throughout the season. Further, it did a great job of progressing the supernatural elements of the season, which were in dire need of some development with the end of the show coming so damn soon. Before this episode, everyone was saying, oh, Daenerys can just fly in on our dragons and breathe fire all over the White Walkers and they'll win. But they do an excellent job of subverting our expectations and showing the actual threat that the Night's King poses on the characters. I think we really needed that dragon death to show the full capabilities of the White Walkers and the true threat that the Night's King poses, and I really like that writing decision on behalf of Dan and Dave. Who knows, George R. R. Martin probably did whisper that story thread into their ears, but you can't really credit him since he hasn't really gotten to it yet. So I hope I did a somewhat decent job of reflecting my overall opinions of this season. I am going to make a lot more supplementary materials discussing specific elements from this season in the near future, so stay tuned for that. As I've made evidence too, Season 7 was a very mixed season when it comes to quality, and I'm really hoping Season 8 steps up to the mantle and becomes the 10 out of 10 finale season we so desperately desire. So that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below and I'll gladly answer them. If you have any specific topics relating to the events of Season 7 that you'd like to see an explanation video on, comment those below as well and I'd be happy to make one. If you'd like to see more videos of this nature, feel free to hit that subscribe button. I encourage you to share this video on all social media platforms with your friends, family, anyone interested. I'm going to be having a lot more Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire videos coming your way in the near future, so I hope you stay tuned for that, and I hope you remember the Professor of Thrones is here to teach you.